Welcome back to In Business. We're in the studio with Charles Waud of Waudware, and we're talking about how he got started in the software business. Before we went to break, I asked you who the biggest influence in your life was. You've had the break to think about it. Who was the biggest influence?
I'd still say it was my father. I think my father was the one who, now looking back over my life, made the most difference on the things that I choose to do.
You said that your father was a big proponent of volunteer work.
Right.
And he told you not to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And you end up being the president of the Board of Trade, which is probably one of the biggest volunteer jobs that you can have in the community. What possessed you to either decide or to accept the nomination to become president?
Well, I really truly love helping people with their businesses. I like helping people, but particularly in business. I joined networking groups in the 90s and got started that way, and really enjoyed when people had business problems, if I could either introduce them to people to help them with the problems or help myself. And that's just evolved over the years into the presidency of the Board of Trade.
Now, I mean, running any membership organization has its challenges. What have you enjoyed the most?
Well, the networking I always enjoy. I get the most fun, as I said a minute ago, out of helping businesses, but over the last few years, because of the Board of Trade, I've become much stronger on the advocacy side, and I see the power of what you can do when businesses get together and lobby the government and the change that can be made. So that's something that I've learned, which I'll always treasure now as well.
We were talking a little bit off camera about the succession plans. You've been in business for 20 years, and I think I asked you, did you ever think it would last this long? I think when people get into business, they say, yeah, you know, I'm doing this for life, but it's always a day-to-day kind of thing. Now you've been around for 20 years. What succession plans are you trying to put into place now?
Well, we're looking at, currently we're using the presidency of the Board of Trade to get me out of the business as much as possible. So one of the best things business people can do if they're in a partnership or a proprietorship of some kind is make the business run without them being there. So 3 years ago, when I decided to go on and be president of the Board of Trade, my partner Ian stepped up. Our business consultants advised us on what we could do to get me out of the business. So that's what we're trying to do this year, is have Waudware run and make a profit with me not being there very much. And as soon as I return, which will be sort of next fall as my term at the Board of Trade winds down, we'll do that with Ian.
Are you sure they're going to have a job for you?
Oh, yeah. No question.
And if they don't, you'll just golf a little more.
Exactly, which would be great.
What have been, you've been in business for 20 years, you've been through a couple of tough economic times, up to and including the one that we've just been through. But what have been some of the big challenges that you've had to overcome over the past 20 years?
Well, the biggest one was 2003. That was just at the end of the Y2K computer work. So computer companies did great getting ready for Y2K, and then there was a couple years of cleanup work afterwards. They were very good years for us. But we're in the produce industry, and in 2003 SARS hit. So companies were already shutting down on computer projects, and then all of our customers were almost wiped out. So in the summer of 2003, we went all the way from 7 or 8 staff down to just Ian and I with no pay for several months.
Wow.
So that was a real challenging time, and we did a lot of soul searching that year about what we were going to do, and we decided to just keep going, and we've built it back up.
At that point in time, did you ever think about giving up?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That was really, really tough times. You know, you wondered whether you should just go get a job with somebody else and give up the dream.
And what kept you going?
We don't think we can work for anybody else, to be honest.
You don't think you'd be a good employee anymore?
No. I'd buck the system too much, I'm sure.
Now, why is it? Why don't you think you'd be a good being on one side of the desk, you know what you like in good staff. Why don't you think you would be a good staff member now?
Because I would find it hard reporting to somebody unless I found the ideal employer who I respected in so many ways, and I don't know if there's people out there that would live up to that, frankly.
What's the big challenge in your business today?
Well, for the last few years, we've been expanding into the U.S., so that's a big challenge into itself, understanding tax law, understanding all the little differences between the way that they do bookkeeping in the States and in Canada, and then just the sheer size of it, and you know, doing marketing to the States. Do you pick a region? Do you do all of it? Keeping up with the volume.
And we have about 10 seconds left. Your words of advice for budding entrepreneurs.
Network. Network as much as possible, anytime you can.
Excellent. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks a lot, David.
Charles Waud of Waudware and the current president of the Brampton Board of Trade. We will be back right after the break with more in business. Stay with us.